can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like $100,000.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders like the founders of P90X, Baby Einstein, Atari, Einstein Bagels, many more, and how they overcome big challenges in life and business. One of the things I love is, interviewing, Noah who started Einstein Bagels. And yeah, it's amazing to hear a story of selling for $100 million to a company, but what I love is the story of how he's selling religious tchotchkes out of his trunk, and it failed, and all the failed challenges that led up to that success is really what is kind of makes the business, and it's behind the scenes what we don't hear. So this episode is sponsored by Rise25, and Rise25's mission is to connect you with your best referral partners and customers through a done-for-you media content solution, a done-for-you lead generation solution, and we also do done-for-you VIP events for software companies and conference organizers. I am very excited to talk to today's guest. We have Howard Marks. He's co-founder of StartEngine, which is the premier equity crowdfunding platform. What they do is they connect investors with tomorrow's progressive companies. So StartEngine aims to revolutionize the startup business model by helping individuals invest in private companies on a public platform. And what that does is it basically helps entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. It helps society because that creates jobs. So you can learn more at StartEngine.com. He founded StartEngine in 2011 to help LA-based startups grow successfully, invested at the time at 60 different startups. He has founded the rebirth of Activision in 1991. With a business partner, he founded the rebirthing online game industry. Howard, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I want to talk, we're going to talk about StartEngine. I have to ask, what did the gaming industry look like in 1991?
In 91, it was an important year for the video game industry because you had Atari that failed and went out of business. Everybody thought the video game industry was dead. And then you had Nintendo, who sneaked in the late 80s with their NES machine. And no one knew whether it would go well or not, but it went well for them, but not for anybody else. They were just selling their machine with some games. And the game industry, the people who were making games, were just failing left and right. And we came in 91 to basically buy Activision for virtually no money, for $400,000. We got control of the company. And the reason why it worked was we decided, look, we're not going to focus just on these cartridges that may or may not work, and you have inventory issues, you have to pay a lot of money, you have to order them out of Japan, it takes forever to come. We're going to make games on CD-ROM, which were the precursor to the DVD. And people were like, wow, that's great, but no one has one,
Right.
That's the best time to get in. So if you believe that CD-ROM DVDs will become a lower cost, more flexible, better medium than a cartridge, which is a hardware, low capacity, super expensive medium. Guess what? You cartridge you'll pay $20 to manufacture, and this one, the CD, maybe 50 cents, maybe $1. Okay, $1. And we knew that was it, and that because these CDs have more capacity, you could be making better games, more enrichment, better content. So we figured, okay, you know what? Let's take Activision over and let's restructure it into a higher quality, more gameplay, more imagery, more visuals in a new medium that's more flexible.
While you created this rebirth, what were some of the popular games at the time?
Well, the game that Activision was known for was Pitfall. A lot of people played that. But then what we focused our time were two games that really took a big difference for us. One was Zork. Zork was this adventure game, and we made a CD-ROM version with video for the first time, and real actors, and the adventure game.
Cutting edge stuff.
Came to life. Except that the only way you could play this game is you need to buy an accessory for your PC. You imagine you have these desktops you need an accessory, and most people couldn't even figure out how to
I mean,
install
well, what did it look like at the time? Like floppy disks? Like, what were people using?
No, at that time, floppy disks. So if you had a game that was pretty popular, you had 15 disks came in a box, and that still was not enough. And anyway, yeah, you're right, floppy disk. So what happened just then when we released Zork, we ended up having the best game for the CD-ROM, and those who had one had to buy it because there's nothing else for them to do. And instantly we sold a lot of games. And then the next game that really made a huge difference was a game called Mech Warrior, which is based on a board game. It's just big robot mechs. And this game was 3D. Now, today everybody says, oh, yeah, everything is 3D. Yeah, sure. At that time, it wasn't.
It'd be like a hologram today, like someone popped up in front of you. Right, yeah.
At that time, at 2D, if you had something that was 2D, which means just an image, that's fine. But think in 3D moving around, that was rare. So we built that, but we did something unique. Is because when we built the game, it was so slow on a normal machine, if you bought these new 3D chip cards, video cards, brand new, just coming out, it would come to light, and you could get incredible visuals, incredible animation. And guess what? Same thing happened here. All the people who were buying a game that they wanted speed, went out and bought the board, that graphic chip board, literally put in your machine, or the ones who had it needed to buy the game. And that just took off like a monster and kind of set the company in the right motion, which is, bleeding edge, quality stuff, fun, and yet use the new technology early on. The competitors were not even doing that.
Well, it's pretty cutting edge, and it seems risky at the time because you're betting on more technology, and it's a lot for. I mean, I guess the user is so passionate they'll do anything. It seems like.
Well, the reason we did it, frankly, is because we had nothing to lose. The company was already dead. We took it through bankruptcy. There was nothing to lose. Just take risks. Mm-hmm. When you're doing well, everything's great, and someone comes and says, hey, let's take a risk. Let's enter this new thing called cryptocurrencies, whatever. You just get out of here. Just go buy. Or, you have a bookstore and someone comes and says, hey, you know what? We could sell our books online. Let me tell you this. I have 30 stores. We sell them this way. Get out of here. And that's the reality. It's called the innovator's dilemma. It happens every day. Those who understand it can survive it. Most of the time, you don't.
How did you get into the gaming industry in general?
Well, it was just because we were making software, from the University of Michigan, in our house, making software, starting to build a business for the Apple II, and that crashed. And then we tried to do it for another game machine from Commodore, and that crashed. And we said, you know what? We're tired of this. We want a medium, a type of, industry where we can grow it. And so we picked the video games, and we looked, well, are there any companies we could buy? And that's where Activision came in.
And then next was Acclaim.
So I left Activision about 10 years later, and I was not interested in getting back into the game industry necessarily, but, not a bad idea. So I was reading in the Wall Street Journal that Acclaim, which was at one point the #1 game company. They had Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam. I mean, they were major, was getting liquidated. So I don't know if you're reading, your listeners are probably hearing about Sears, Roebuck, and Target. Should they be saved in bankruptcy? So they're in Chapter 11, which is reorganization. But the creditors want to throw them to Chapter 7, which is liquidation, because they think there's more value there. So in the case of Activision, we did a Chapter 11 and restructured it. But this time, Acclaim was going in Chapter 7, liquidation, voluntarily, meaning that's it. We want to do it ourselves. I thought it was really strange. So I called the trustee at the bankruptcy court and I said, hey, I want to bid to buy money. And they were like all excited about it. And they said, okay, well, what do you want to bid? I said $100,000. And I think there was a pause. They were like, this is a joke, right? I said, no. Anyway, flash forward a little longer. They say, okay, we'll start an auction. Do you want to participate in an auction? I said, yes. What's your opening bid? 100,000. Great. Here's your bid. Sign the paperwork. Off we go. Auction happens. There are no other bidders.
Wow.
So I end up buying the whole thing for 100 grand. And I'm saying, okay, what do I do? It as a online game company. I mean, this is a company that had a multi-billion-dollar market cap. To pay for 100,000 seems very, very low. Anyway, rebuild it as an online game company with 17 million players, then sell it to another company that ends up being bought by Disney. And then I'm here saying, you know what? What do I do now? You know, I'm bored. And so I looked around in LA and found that there was not really any accelerator, any way to help young startups, you know, get started and funded and educated. So I built the first startup accelerator called StartEngine. And initially, you know, just for LA, did a bunch of them. And while I was investing in, you know, women, entrepreneurs, and people of color, and all sorts of great stuff, the results were really bad because they couldn't raise any money. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. What's the big deal? Just go raise money. Here, let me introduce you to VCs. Let me introduce you to angels. Nothing. And so I said, you know what? The system is broken. It's obvious. These are really cool people with great ideas, lots of talent, willing, capable, resilient, can't get money? System's broken. So that's where my entrepreneur mind came in, and I basically started a division or a new company, StartEngine Crowdfunding, with the idea that there's a new law that just was put in place, and I'm going to take advantage of it.
So how tough was it to start the online version, the crowdfunding case?
It was really easy. Frankly, I was shocked. So I told everybody in my team, I said, you know what? We're dumb because we're going to start a crowdfunding platform. There'll be 200 of them out there, and we're just going to be one of 200, and it's going to be, you know, difficult because there's a lot of competition. Anybody can do one. What's the big deal? So that was my prediction, that a lot of people will jump in because it's such an obvious one, right? Disrupt the financial industry, disrupt the VCs, disrupt everybody, just raise money from the crowd. First time in 80 years, a normal person in this country can invest. I mean, come on, that's a big idea. Well, we launch June of 2015. We get our first customer. It's a car company. They need money. And so they had some fans. We ran through it, raised 17 million for them. It was just a crazy number from 6,000 people. We were very excited. And guess what? No, there wasn't 200 companies out there. There was maybe 3. And I realized, you know, even though it's a new law, it's available to anyone, it's there, it's right there, anybody can read it, anybody can implement it, it's just not what people do.
How'd you get traction on it? Because you look on there's a lot of businesses, some cool businesses. There's like a diabetes clinic on there. There's, you know, a MedX, a golf board. There's a couple of cool. How do you start to get traction?
Okay, so first customer I mentioned was a car company.
Yeah. And
the reason we got them is because they went around to the financial wizards and investors all out there and couldn't get the capital they needed. And the CEO was pretty adamant, I'm going to go raise the money so I can build a car. So in many ways, that was a lucky break for us. So that worked. And then we did an airplane, a vertical takeoff airplane concept. And then we did MedX, which was a pesticide for the medical marijuana space, which is a fast-growing space. And each of them actually did well. And then in May of 2016, we launched the $1 million raises, the smaller ones. And we stumbled. We just were not getting the companies we wanted. We couldn't understand. Look at all the success we had. Well, it turns out we didn't have our marketing together. We didn't have the right leads. We ended up with some bad luck, not very good. That turned around very quickly because then we said, you know what? Let's go and find these entrepreneurs. So we created mailing lists, ads. We went to shows. We went to the Consumer Electronics Show. We did everything we could, and it turned around very quickly. So 2016, we had maybe 10 companies. And we were like, this is going to be a long road. This is going to be hard. Hey guys, how hard is it going to be? Really hard. Hey, be ready for 10 years of dredge. So then in 2017, we raised money for 80 companies. And that was a big success. And last year, we just finished the year, we raised money for, well, we launched 250 companies and raised money for 150 companies. It was unbelievable. Last year was unbelievable. And this year, I have no idea. We'll see how it goes. So far, the demand is very strong. Shocking, right? Companies need capital. I don't know. That seems so bizarre.
What's some of the companies, Howard, that stick out on the platform?
Well, it turns out we feel that the kind of companies we get are really entrepreneurs, CEOs, very usually early stage, either realize they can't get VC money, or if they did, they don't want the terms. They don't like the idea of losing control. They would rather keep control of their company. And then all of them in common love marketing. They love going to people out there and saying, here's my message. They go to the press. They go on blogs. They're very active. That's the kind of people that do great.
Yeah. This is a perfect, actually, I think, interview for the site in general, because I'm talking to founders, and even though they have customers, they have money, they're looking to raise more. And this seems like an alternative to the traditional route.
Well, until we did it and our competitors, which are not many, there was no alternative because the banks are not going to lend you money unless you have a house you can mortgage. And the VCs only do 2,000 deals a year, and the angels maybe 10,000. I mean, it's a disaster. It is an absolute disaster. So, yes, an alternative, yes. And so it's interesting how today you call what we do an alternative. Some people call it fringe. Some people call it garbage. But the truth is this.
Yeah.
The truth is this. In 5 years from now, crowdfunding is going to be the way people raise money for their company, period. They're not going to go to the VC, rarely. They're going to go directly to the crowd. Why? Because it's retail. Why sell wholesale? Sell retail. Go out. Get your name out there. It's a great test to see if what you have is a good idea, well received. You get the crowd to become your advocate, your ambassador. It's a great thing.
So, I'm looking at the site. I see MedX, the green technologies, leader in green technologies, and they raised $4.3 million, 2,000 investors. The minimum invest was $420. What made them successful on the platform to raise that amount of money?
I'm not going to comment about individual raises because they're still live, they're publicly being shown. But what I will tell you this, the CEO, literally, let's talk clearly, the CEO is engaged, willing to go out, tell the story, has an exciting story, good prospects. That's what it takes to raise money. Now, typically, you would meet, 20, 30, 40 VCs, maybe 100 investors, and maybe 10% of them will make you an offer, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe. Well, here, all that effort, hundreds of hours, you're putting the 100 hours to find customers. That's not such a bad thing. So I bet a lot of companies on our platform, their sales go up when they're raising money from the consumer.
So how does that work? Talk to me about that, customers. So are people actually, when they invest, they're getting a product also? As well as investment?
Yeah, there's a thing called perks.
Yeah.
People love perks. Sometimes I feel that they'd rather have the perk than the shares, which is
That's like Sports Illustrated, right? You buy the subscription just to get that football phone. You don't care about the subscription, right? So,
probably.
Yeah.
That's pretty true. But it shows you how exciting it is, how excited they are about the company, because if they rather have the perk than the shares, they love the company. So we're finding a lot of people are interested in the perk and the ability to get some more than just the shares. Sometimes it's an invitation to meet the team. Sometimes it's product, discounts on products. It's all over the place.
Yeah. So the way they can be more successful, the campaigns, is obviously just go above and beyond in the perks, and that will, allow them to raise more money. If
the perks are exciting, the raise goes way, way, way better. I mean, we see it all the time.
So what's next for StartEngine? What else should people know about it?
So the big news this year is that we're going to be eventually, once we get the right registration rights, the license and all that, we're going to launch a secondary marketplace, which is like a mini stock exchange where our investors, once the shares are freely tradable, which is usually 1 year after they invest, they can trade. Can you imagine? What an incredible idea. Look, it's interesting. When you look at the stock market, NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, there are 4,700 companies. How many new companies a year come out? 100, couple hundred. By the time they come out, they're already like big and full of value. Value creation has been really pretty done for a large portion of it. Nothing else. So it's basically everybody, the whole Wall Street is talking about 4,700 companies all day long. Think about all the hedge funds, think about all the traders. It's weird. And you have 5 million companies in this country, 5 million, and dormant, nothing going on. Well, you know what? We're going to change that. We're going to completely change that. We're going to allow companies to issue shares to the consumer and trade. Done. Let's just go. This is going to change how people view investment.
What motivates you, Howard, just to keep pounding and working when you had 2 previous successful companies and you probably didn't need to work again, and then you go pounding the pavement again?
Well, look, I first of all don't believe in being inert. I believe in being productive, productive citizens. I think we have a responsibility as Americans to help our country become better, grow, have progress. I mean, I think we all have that responsibility. At least I believe it. Maybe some people don't care. I do. But the reality is my mission. Here's my mission. My mission is to help entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. Well, you know what? That keeps me going. Why? Because I talk to them all the time. And when they do well on our platform and they are happy and they're able to tell me all the crazy things they're going to do, wow, I'm impressed. So I look at it and say, look, I was lucky. Yeah, I was lucky. But you know what? I worked really hard and I got lucky. Well, you know what? I want other people to have the same thing.
Yeah. I always ask as the last question, Howard, since it's Inspired Insider, I always like to know what has been a low moment or big challenge you had to go over, push through, and then what's been a proud moment for you? What's been a big challenge, low moment?
I've had many low moments, and that's normal because when you expose yourself to business, there are plenty of them. I've had a low moment when I started my first business in college. I had no more money. I had to go to the unemployment line and collect an unemployment check. That's pretty, demoralizing. You have to do it. You have to pay the rent. But you know what, really? A young person who has a lot of potential, well, I had no choice because I chose entrepreneurship and there's no paycheck for a long time, That was a low moment. A high moment, I think the high moment is when I was able to start selling my Activision shares and said, wow, I could buy a house. That's a great thing, So the biggest moment really right now for me has been this. When I realized that the financial industry was really not doing the right thing for people because their interest is returns on capital. That doesn't mean they're right. That's what they want, which is fine. I believe in the same thing. But it was just one person saying yes or no, and it's the entrepreneur on the other side of the table that gets the no because it's a woman, and she gets 2% of venture capital money. I think it's like, wow, this is just not right. I get it why they do it because they have proof that men make more money. I get it, but you know what? That doesn't feel right because first of all, some of my best investments are women. So you know what? Guess what? Let's change it. When you see something you don't like, right? Change it. Now, I got lucky. The new law came in, allowed me to do it. So I couldn't do it without the Jobs Act. Just forget about it. It's not going to happen. But you know what? When I saw the chance, I saw it happening, and I said, you know what? This is it. We're going to do it. And a lot of people would say, no, Howard, you're wrong. Here's why. People will never invest online. You don't get it. People are not going to put money with their credit card to buy shares online. They'll never do that. Okay. Number two, entrepreneurs don't want consumers to invest in their company. They want VCs. Okay. That's number two. Or no, the banks will lend them. I mean, all this fallacy, all this falsehood, these myths that people have this belief system is so bizarre. And I said, you know what? You guys are wrong. And then you know you have something, because the people you know well who are advising you against doing this tells you that you found something special.
Howard, I want to be the first one to thank you. Fantastic. Everyone should check out StartEngine.com. I have a number of people, as soon as we get off this, they need to know about this, because I think really is what it is getting the message out there and just having more people know that they can use this as a resource. So thank you so much.
Welcome. I really enjoyed it.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like 100 grand.